You ready? Okay, so we're doing an overview for our class Universal Law, Interpretation and Practical Application for Self-Mastery. So we're here in a private session. So any questions that you have, go ahead and ask them so I can answer them for you. And we can use this as an overview again to use it to give people an overview of what we're doing with the website, what we do with class, and what we do at the temple as a whole. So to get started, the name of the class is Universal Law, Interpretation and Practical Application for Self-Mastery. So our premise is once you understand what universal law is, you learn how to interpret it, then you can apply it, practically apply it, so you can master yourself. So when we put this class together, we've been doing it for about 4 years, been very successful in helping people to understand what universal law is and how to apply it so they can get actual results. Not some theory of how it works, not some thing that they say, oh, here's some mystical, all these different, cryptic names of things. We keep it very simple. So what we're going to do today in this overview is go over the purpose of creation so we can understand that this is a system of laws and a system of things that work together. And once we understand how that system works, we can use this understanding of this architecture to see how we work along with the flow of what's happening throughout this entire universe, how it's all connected. So to get started, I want to explain that before you actually take the universal law class with the temple, we do a metaphysics 101 training. And it's a short, brief training, but it's to prep the students to understand what they would be covering moving forward with the universal law class or any other class with the temple. So in saying that, there are a few things we want to cover first before we get started with the universal law class. So first, we want to talk about what is metaphysics, because everything we talk about in this class is based on metaphysics. So Brother Ali is with us and he's recording me. He's going to read us the definition of what we use for what is metaphysics once he puts his reading glasses on.
All right, metaphysics. The word physics means the study of matter and energy, while meta means to transcend or see the situation behind something. Metaphysics then is the study of matter and energy beyond the physical plane to other dimensions.
Okay, so when we talk about things in this class, I'm stepping on my dress. When we talk about things in this class, we're going to be talking about metaphysical concepts. And so metaphysics for us is the study beyond things that we can see. How does something work behind the scenes? When we talk about things like energy, and we've covered this in our Metaphysics 101, energy, vibration, we're actually looking at the how and the why behind when things happen. So in actuality, we're looking at really cause and effect, and that's what we're going to talk about with universal law, cause and effect. So these are things, when we say stuff, it's going to be stuff that's in the abstract. It's not going to be literally this thing. So we have to kind of understand that this class is based upon already have taken the Metaphysics 101 class, okay? So because I know Brother Ali already has these terms down, he's going to throw these questions out at me. So he's going to ask questions that a student would normally ask if they were here. Just working. Oh, okay. Okay. So to get started, let's talk about, and I want you to act like you're one of the students that's helping me today. So he's frowning while I'm saying that. Let me go back. To get started, because I'll edit that piece out. To get started, universal law. So let's talk about what is universal law. What comes to mind, Ali, when you say universal law?
The study of all law.
All law. That deals with what? Everything?
Everything. Universal.
Everything. Universal
will be everything.
Everything. So we say uni, that's one, and verse is turn. So when you think about a turn, you think about a cycle, you think about a pattern. So everything follows this. And that's my uncle in the background coughing, which I asked him to be quiet. So uni meaning one and verse meaning turn. So everything follows this one turn, this one wheel, this one pattern, this one sequence. Even though we may not understand the sequence or the pattern of it, everything follows this one pattern. So verse being a turn. So if we said a wheel, like we know wheel, A will is also, we look and we talk about from metaphysical aspects or perceptions of things, we often look at the word and what is this word saying? Yes, it will means we're going to do a cyclical turn, but also look at it as will, because we also get this saying, you think about a will is what? What is a will? A will is an intention. What I intended, what it's intended for. So the intention just really means it's causation for why was it created? What is its purpose? It is a intention, okay? So when we say universal law, and there's little gnats in here, little universal law, we're talking about one intention for everything there is. So because we have this one intention, it has to be what we are calling law or rule. Something is governing or controlling or causing everything that works to be able to work in a system of things, in a system of order, which some people say, oh, it's divine order. It is working in a system. So what we're going to do is talk about what is this law and how does everything go along within this law in your everyday life. So when you read like old religious texts and scripts and scrolls and all these other doctrines, you're seeing stuff that's trying to explain to you what this law is saying, but it's broken down so much now to the point where it's getting very literal with things. Don't do this, do that to get to this place. Don't do that to get to that place. But it's not telling you how to do it, the instruction or how do I do it in my everyday life. So what we're doing in class is showing you a breakdown so that you can apply, learn what these laws are and interpret it, and giving you practical applications so you can see it working in your life today, in your real life, and then how you can measure where you are in your purpose or your pattern with this law. So that's the point for what we do in class, okay? So we understand now that everything is governed by this. Everything like what? Some of the students would ask in class, like what? Everything from me, you, this pen and this mark in my hand, the flowers, the trees, everything, the stars, the planets, everything is governed by this one law. So to understand how we work into it, we need to understand, well, what was the purpose of why was all this stuff created? Why were we as humans created? What is our real purpose? Because until we understand our intention or our purpose, we don't understand what we're doing on a daily basis. Okay? So let's talk about the purpose of creation is to create a creature and to fill the creature with unbounded delight by way of transformation. Okay? And he's writing this down. Okay. I was just waiting for you to finish writing. So the purpose of creation is to create a creature and to fill the creature with unbounded delight by way of transformation. So that's the purpose for our creation. So I'm glad you wrote that down because we're going to come back to that. I'm going to ask you to read that in a second. Okay? So let's explain, because most of us that I've in my experience with teaching this are very visual. So we need to understand, well, what does that really mean? What does it mean to say the purpose of creation was to create a creature and fill it with unbounded delight? So in order to explain that, I want to give, and can I prove this piece that I'm getting ready to say? No, I can't prove it by saying here is something tangible that you can see, but I can show you what this is doing and explain it to you. And then once you understand what we're doing with class and certain principles and techniques that we use in order to manifest certain things in our everyday life, you will see where this makes more sense, the understanding of why we were created and how we were created and how the system flows together. That will make more sense to say, okay, people go on a lot of beliefs, but this is what I understand. I'm not here to debate anybody's belief or to try to tell anybody to put their beliefs on hold or to suspend any beliefs, but this is what we understand to be the purpose and what we use as a method to teach this class, and it's been very effective. So the purpose of creation is to create a creature. So how we explain this is there's a source energy, and that is a C, a source energy that created this entire existence. Every planet, every star, this universe, other universes, everything. Do we know what this is? I don't think anybody knows what this is. I don't think we can understand or know what this is at the level of what our brains, our minds, what we can take in and actually understand. Go ahead. Yeah.
So how do we get, or how have people come to the realization that it's governed by this one person? I mean, it's the source, but where did this thing come from, like a human form? Or how do people get to believe that one human form type of person made all of this?
I'll explain that in a second. Let me write that as a question.
And I think people in the conscious community, you know, we understand that it's an energy that runs this whole thing, but it's so intricate to put it all together.
It is, but it is not at the same time. And now, once I go through this, I'll answer this question for you, and then we'll come back to this whole concept of it being massive versus very simplistic, complicated versus being simple, whatever, right? We can go over that in just a second, just to make sure, but I wrote your question down so we can cover it. If I do not get to it in my explanation of this, then we'll circle back and get this question answered, okay? But I think it's going to answer what you're just asking once I go through this, okay? So this source energy that created everything in this universe, this energy being all-knowing, knows everything because it created everything, okay? So it is all-knowing. And it is an energy of giving or bestowal. It is what you call the creator. Okay? So somewhere in this source energy or creator energy or quality, I like to call it a quality, somewhere in that, our understanding of this is that it had a desire. It has all these things, all this stuff that it created. It had a desire to want to know itself. What am I? Who? What? I won't say who, because that's kind of making it being a person form. What am I? So in order for it to say or ask the question of itself, what am I? The second that question was asked of itself, it created a void. So that void that was created a desire to want to know itself. So that created desire. So we call this a creature quality or energy. It is without because it has void. So by this being everything, the opposite of it wanting to know itself, created a void. You get that what I'm saying? It created a void. So this void that's created has within an intention. The intention for that void then is what? If it said, I want to know myself, its intention is to what? Learn and know itself, right? So it wanted to know itself. So if I say I want to know myself, that means that I don't know myself, that I'm without myself, right? So it's still a part of the whole, but it has a void or desire to want to learn itself. So because this whole dynamic was created, it said, well, how will I do this? So it exists, and I don't want to debate with anybody's belief system, but my understanding of this is that frequency was lowered, and where we are is on this plane of existence, right here. This is where we are.
At the bottom?
I'm not gonna say I won't say the bottom. I can't prove to you that it's bottom, but I'm just going to explain this, and then if you have questions, we can go through it, okay? So I'm not going to call this the bottom, but it's not here. It's a lower vibration, okay? A lower quality or lower energy. We're in a physical form now. This stuff is not in a physical form that's happening, okay? So if some people like to call this place or this energy or this frequency or this vibration that we're in, some people call it third dimension, right? Some people call it, depending upon what they're studying, they call it Malkuth. Whatever somebody's study is of the understanding of where this is, we're gonna call this Earth, okay? I can't prove to you that it's third dimension. I can't prove to you that it's Earth, but I'm gonna give you the theory of how this works and how we've been able to apply this principle so that we are actually getting results in a regular, everyday, real-time reality for us. And it's measured. We can see our results measured, okay? So if this creator energy knows itself, knows everything, it said, how do I want to know what I am. So it created this void energy, and this is what we call the creature. So this creature's quality or purpose for being only knows how to receive. It doesn't know how to do anything but receive. It's not a giver. It only can receive data and information or things coming into itself, okay? So if we're at this level, we've come down here, we're in physical form. We have desires here in this physical form to be able to do what? What do we say the purpose of creation was? Can you read that back to me?
The purpose. Everything is governed by universal law. The purpose of creation is to create a creature and to fill the creator.
Creature.
Yeah, creature. Mm-hmm. And to fill the creature with unbounded delight by way of transformation.
Okay. So we created this creature because we wanted to know ourselves. We came here through these levels of breakdown and frequency. We came here, we're at the physical, so that we can have experiences that teach us who we are. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So the purpose of creation is to create this creature and to fill this creature. Right now, this creature is void. Let's pretend this creature has nothing in it. This creature is void. There's nothing here. So because this creature is void, it has nothing in it, but it still has the intention of knowing itself, through this life experience, it's going to go through different levels or different energies in order to learn itself. So it has to do what at the physical level? First, we have to survive. So we're going to have physical needs that our bodies are going to have in order to survive this particular plane of existence. Where we need water, we have to have air, right? We have to have sun, and we have to have earth. So you got to have the four elements: fire, earth, water, and earth. What did I say? Fire, air, water. Come on, what's my other?
Like earth, wind, and fire.
Earth, wind, and fire, yeah, it's four elements. So we have to have these things in order to survive in this plane of existence. So the first desire then is going to be food, sex, and shelter is your first desire. You have to have these in order for you to survive here. Correct?
So.
You got to keep your body alive.
Right, I got that.
Sex, reproducing.
Okay. Boom. Okay, hold up.
Shelter.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
You mentioned sex.
Mm-hmm.
To reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a certain way, you can't reproduce.
Right.
You cannot produce. So.
And that touched on a question that we had, and I'll cover that in a few minutes. And I see you smiling. It's going to all come in and make perfect sense. Okay? So food, sex, and shelter. You agree with this? That you have to have this to survive. You have elements here on this planet, on this earth, or this level of vibration that we're at. Can you just go outside every day and just live with the elements? So you need shelter, right? You need, sex is going to reproduce, right? And you're going to have some place, some method of nourishing your suit heat, your space suit.
Right.
So this is your first desire. So once you get these, and they have a hierarchy of needs. Maslow is a guy that came up with a hierarchy of needs, and this kind of goes along with his theory of what your needs are as a human in this particular existence, right? So if you look at, and we talk and cover that in depth in class, so this is just an overview. So second thing, desire that you have, once you have food, sex, and shelter, or it could also, we had a thought that it was one at a time, but it's really not. These things happen all at one time, okay? So food, sex, shelter. Your second is, once you get this, you're going to need what to sustain it? In order to sustain food, sex, and shelter, you're going to need wealth, right? Or have the desire for wealth. I won't say you get the desire for it. Once you have wealth, you have another desire that pops up, and that's for power. Power will sustain wealth, and wealth will sustain this. So once you get this, these are already sustained. Sure. So power would sustain wealth, and wealth would sustain food, sex, shelter. So once you get power, what do you think people want next after they get power?
They want the wealth.
They already have power. They got wealth. What's
After
next?
power, I mean, when you got power, you have unlimited things that you can.
So now you're bored. Now what do you want now?
Bored.
You bored. You got money. You got everything. You can buy anything you want. What do you want now?
Well, you're gonna have to know who. You want to know what's going on out here. You know,
Okay, exactly. So that's the next one, is knowledge. So the next one is knowledge. So once you have these things, and I won't say that they all happen this, then this, and this. People used to think that that's the way it works, but we're seeing that it kind of works.
Yeah, because you can't
It
have
happens.
power without knowledge.
Yeah, right. So it kind of goes. But these are, if you notice, these are things that are physical things. So these are in the physical, okay? So what happens is, at this level, you're having the desires there. And what do we say? The creature can only do what? The creature can only do what? It's only in receive mode. So it wants to get these physical things, right? So at some point, because the intention for the purpose of creation is to create this creature and to now fill him, see he had a void, is to start filling this in with unbounded delight. That's what this is. This is unbounded delight. We're trying to now get this creature to be filled with everything that this is, right? In order to do it, it has to go through these experiences. This is your life experience. Going all through all of these different energies and experiences, you go here to do what? Learn who you are. So, these are all physical. What happens is, at some point, and this is called, what they call a point in the heart. This energy is a pull. It starts pulling you back here. This wakes up in each person. This is called what they call a point in the heart. This is not of a physical nature. This is this source energy, a direct pull, saying, hey, like a little inkling, hey. So you begin to, what they call, wake up and start asking these questions you've already had. How do you do this and survive this? But now you want to now be this thing. You want to be just like this thing. You've had the intention to become just like this thing, but now you really get that pull towards you, actually opening yourself up to understand what really is going on. Who are you really? The point in the heart starts really tugging at you. Okay. You have a question?
So, when a individual transition, so are you saying he comes back to that third dimensional plane right there?
Good question. So in our
it all over and over and over
until
until
what?
you get it right.
well, what's right, what's wrong, because we go over in our Metaphysics 101, there really is no right and wrong, because all of this, if the purpose of creation is to complete this whole system, so that now you get this creature is now filled with the understanding of what this is by way of its experiences. Can any of your experiences really be right or wrong? Isn't it in line with your purpose? No matter whether it takes you one lifetime iteration to get this completed or 25.
So let me ask. The people, say like the masses of people, they're being, you have 7.25 billion people on Earth, and you have 1,300 people that rule 7.25 billion people on Earth.
Okay.
In order for that to happen, they're doing some, as we know, diabolical things to certain people. You have a people that's doing some very evil, diabolical things.
Okay. And that's for me, something I'm gonna cover in a second for you. Once we kind of go through this one piece, then this is going to tie into your question with the world. You're talking about right, wrong, good or bad, or how are they able to do this if this system is in place. Let's understand how this system works, and then we'll understand that perception of the right, wrong, the perception of what's going on with the world and commerce and the people being enslaved and commercial issues and things like that, it'll make more sense when you understand the purpose of this whole system and how certain individuals understand this purpose and they understand universal principle and they're working right along with it. And they're doing, in their way, they're doing what they were created to do. It's gonna make sense in just a second. So I wrote it down so we're not going to forget it. It'll tie in. So are you getting that? We came here as a fragment. That's 7.2 billion. However many billion of us that is here. You're a fragment of this that has to complete this to get your piece of the fragment over here and fill this in. I'm a fragment of this energy that came here that has to fill this in. This guy over here sitting at the table is a fragment. We all are fragments of this energy that came here to finish and complete this, and grab this data. Your experience is your data, and you're taking it back to this source computer, if you want to think of it that way. This is the source, the architect to this whole thing, and the purpose for you coming here is to take your experience back. Your intention right now on this earth plane, we're all doing food, sex, shelter, wealth, doing all of this exchange. When this point in the heart starts pulling, your desire now is not so much for these things. Your desire is more geared towards this, right? Understand? You get what I'm saying? So at this level of your desire being here, if you have particular entities that had a desire for just this stuff and this hasn't gotten there, maybe you might be at your 20th lifetime. So your desire might be leaning more towards this way. Maybe somebody else has only gotten up to this part and they have this very heavy energy of this and this, right? Would that not explain why somebody else would want control and power? Make more sense? So if you have this, he's tipping so quiet. If you have this creature that has only knows and it's only created with a program is a set of instructions, right? Like computer instructions. This computer does not know how to work without having instructions. That's his software. That's his thing it knows how to operate from. This creature only knows how to receive. So those individuals, as you say, are trying to run things. Are they only in receive mode? They're not givers. You see? So they're not in give. That's in the receive energy. So if we have this desire to receive, and we're not going to get rid of the desire because it had to be there in order to want to even do this system, right? You agree with that? So people keep saying ego and desire, you got to get rid of the want. You are not going to get rid of the want because it's a part of the makeup. It's a part of how it was designed. You have to have desire in order for you to get to want and desire to even finish the system, right? But we are here to change what we want. You're not going to change this thing to say, I don't want to have any more wants. You're going to have to transform what you want. What you want is going to change from this to actually come here. I want this. Now you understand what the purpose of creation is: to create this creature and to fill this creature with unbounded delight, this energy, fill it in with unbounded light by way of transforming its intentions from lower frequency energy, which is of the physical, to actually wanting to be just like this, being a giver.
So that number 5, which
The point in the heart. The point in the heart.
Point in the heart. So that individual that's at that point could actually be abstract from all of those things?
You're still going to have these.
Huh?
You're still going to have these because you have within yourself things that need to be corrected. Okay? So as long as let's just say you are an individual, and here's your intentions. You may have so many intentions in you. I don't know how many it will be. Every time you come here, you correct an intention by taking your frequency from your lower nature, wanting to always give me, receive. When you change this into a giver quality of more love and compassion, understanding your connection with all there is, you say that's you.
Yeah, I love giving.
But, so let's talk about what is give in just a second. So when you talk about giving, it's not just physical things, it's actually giving of a spiritual nature too, component to it. And we'll talk about that in a second. So when you say, you go through here, you take your intention away from give me, I'm in receive mode, I'm just trying to feed my creature. And you actually have a creator intention of compassion, of love, of beingness, all-knowing and understanding your connection with everything. Once you do that and you have a situation or event that comes up and something pops up in you and they say, oh, it's a test. People often say it's a test when they get challenged. So it's an opportunity for you to change your intention. When you change that intention, your quality and your desiring to be of this like energy, what happens is you correct one of these intentions. Now you start filling in. You get more, let's say it's source energy. You start filling this in with source energy. You start filling this in every time you correct an intention till this gets filled in. So once you start making the corrections in your intentions, this is what is meant by to fill this creature with unbounded light by way of transformation. You transform your intention from a receive mode into a give mode. And so how do we do that? We do that in our everyday life with certain situations or events or things occur. It's only occurring to show you where inside yourself, and if you think of it like this, you could say, we can think of this as creator qualities, and you can think of this as creature qualities. You can think of it as an asset, you can think of it as a liability. It's a lot of noise coming from over there. You can think of it as an asset and a liability, or a creator and a creature quality. So if you had, let's say there were a group of lessons in your particular journey or your lifetime that you had to learn in order to clean up your intentions. Let's say these were things you had to clean up within yourself. And you had these creature qualities that you needed to correct, to transform them into creator qualities. And you had this number, however many you had within your journey, and I had whatever I had. There's a ledger that we have that keeps account of that. And from my understanding of how I'm seeing this system work together, It's not some man in the sky with this big book counting up what you owe or some debts that you have, soul debt. You're actually keeping your own ledger because you have your own mind. You have your own accounting of it because you're having your own experiences. When we talk about universal law, it's a law of cause plus the effect. We're going to go into that in just a second, go into that principle. So if you think of things in terms of cause and effect, things are happening because we're attracting the things to us so that we can get an opportunity or a lesson so that we can now learn who we are through that situation. So we often call those situations the catalyst. And what is a catalyst? The catalyst is something that's going to be used as a substance to bring an energy forth so that you can mirror and see yourself. For instance, you could see somebody and you just have a dislike for that person. You and this person get into this disagreement often. There's something within that person that's bringing an opportunity for you to see yourself and to be able to make your correction and your intention of what you're doing in your situation or event. Here's your intention. These are all your different desires and intentions. I want to be liked. I want to be in control. I want to be noticed. I want attention. I want fame. I want all these things. And so as you're doing this and you see somebody over here, you two may bump heads on some things. They're just showing you a reflection of something in you that needs to be corrected. So that lesson, because we're saying the event or the situations are happening so you can see a lesson for yourself about who you are and where you are, right? So for you to see this lesson, when you say, okay, me and this individual get into these debates or we get into these conflicts. In that moment when you're having that conflict is where you have opportunity to say, well, why is this occurring? What is this bringing up in me that I may need to correct? If we never think of it that way and understand the system, we'll keep going through these battles and fights with these individuals that are just showing you a reflection of something in you that needs to be corrected. You get the point of what the lesson is? So when we say, what is the lesson? Less is on. Less what? Soul debt. And what is the debt you're paying? Your debt is getting rid of all of that creature energy. That's the debt. Make sense? So if you go over here and you say, okay, here's an opportunity where me and this individual are bumping heads. Here's an opportunity for me to learn who I am in this moment. Well, why is this person so upset or angry? I can now go and choose to have a creative quality to understand beyond what I physically see. There's a causation for what's happening with that person. And if I interact with this individual and anger comes up in me, it's my job with me to ask, why is this bringing this feeling up for me? What is going on with me that this person, when I interact with them, brings this, I feel this certain way. What is going on in me? Because that's not for you to necessarily, it's not for you to make a correction in them, because everybody has their own cycle or system or what do you want to call it, their own journey. Every one of us has our own journey to complete this because we came from this and we're going back to this at some point. You asked about lifetimes. From our understanding of how we're seeing it working, you either get it this lifetime or you're going to keep coming and repeating this pattern until you understand. And oftentimes people will call that cause and effect. They'll call that karma, right?
Right.
So if we think in metaphysical terms, we often take these words, we'll see another word in here. What do we see in the word karma?
Car.
He said car. Okay. How about this?
Mark.
It's just a pointer. So if I go through this lifetime, right? Mm-hmm. And I go through this and I get to this point here, and I never really made it here. If I had to come back to repeat this, because this is going to complete itself, however many times it has to happen, your lifetime or an experience of lifetimes is going to complete itself. But if I only make it here on my journey, what's going to happen? I need a placeholder to tell me where to come back to, right? And start from. So that's what karma is. Karma is your cause plus your effect. That's what karma is. Karma is simply your cause plus your effect. So if we say we have a mark or a marker, right, to show us where we stopped at. So if your last lifetime, you had all of these different intentions to correct, where you had all of these things on your ledger, and you had, you know, so many over here you had, right? The more you the more you correct an intention on this side, you add one more over here. You see how this works? The more you correct an intention, over here, you go through this situation, and something came up in you, and you chose to be more of this creator quality in that moment with that person, and you gave compassion and showed what it is. You know that you could be that person, because couldn't you be that person? You got the same experiences going on. We all here together under the same universal law. Could you not have a similar situation that person is having? Have you never said something and then you weren't able to finish it and you so angry with this person? Have you never done that? That's what the compassion is understanding that we are all connected and going through this journey. Maybe they don't have this universal law class to understand this whole system. Maybe they just out here and don't understand how any of this works. So once you have that understanding of how this works and you can operate more of this creative quality, and we'll talk about what that is in just 1 second. Once you can do that, you start erasing those debts from this side of your own ledger, and you start adding more on your assets. You see how that works? You start erasing these, right, and now you get more of this quality. It gets easier to do this because just in your thinking, in that moment where you're having some type of situation, and it may not even be with a person, it could just be within yourself. You could think of something and start having some uneasiness, and you understand when you can feel when you drop from a higher energy to a lower energy. You could feel when you go there. What we're trying to get to is identify when that moment happens and how not to make the switch from your higher to your lower, So if you know that you're keeping this ledger yourself, now I'm more accountable for what I'm doing, and I'm not waiting for a Messiah or a Savior to save me, because what are they going to save you from? It's just a system. Once you understand how the system works, you can start working with it. How can you play a game if you don't know the rules? So it's like, now if I'm understanding the rules, and this is what we're teaching in class, the rules of how this works, now you can make plays and start getting your own playbook instead of playing by something else that you think is happening. Like you say, the stuff that's happening with rulership and commerce and society. You're understanding how this works, so you're understanding the flow of how it's all going, and you're not, even though this is happening in your world outside, you're more in tune with your own personal world and what you came here to do. Because what's happening out here is only for you to see certain things and certain perceptions. Some people could say things are right, some people say it's wrong, but in everything that we have, there's always a give and a take. It's always a negative and a positive to that one energy. It's a continuum. So in that point in the heart, when that starts to pull at you, you have more of a desire. You're going to be in receive, because your creature is always going to want to receive, but you're going to change what it wants to receive. You're not going to change that it receives or wants to receive, but you're going to change the intention of what it wants to receive. Once you focus on this more, of receiving this, you get guided through this whole matrix or this whole maze of things through your life. You get more of a guidance to guide you through. Your intention begins to build more, and what they call psychic ability gets heightened. So many of the students in our classes, once they learn the principles of how this works and how to apply everyday techniques to be able to do this, to get to this point in the heart, more waking up and pulling it here, what happens is the psychic ability starts to heighten, your intuition begins to heighten. So you had a question? You had a question a second ago?
Yeah.
You asked me. Yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
But ask them. We need them.
The rule book. Say like, it seems like here on this plane, we have rule books. You know what I mean? People from different type of ways you should do things.
Right.
I heard you say there's really no wrong or right way how to do stuff. So I noticed at the bottom, marriage is not down there. So is that a man-made? That's a man-made thing, that marriage thing. Okay.
How would it not be? So, if the purpose of creation is to create a creature and to fill that creature with unbounded delight by transforming its intentions between higher and lower, okay? Saying that in your understanding and your lessons that you're going to learn through life, where does that fit in with the law of cause and effect? Marriage. Where would it? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying anything or judging marriage. I'm personally saying, you asked, was it a man-made thing?
Right.
Where does it go along with the purpose of what the source is trying to complete?
So,
If it was a part of and it had to be, how do you explain people reproducing children without being married?
yeah, I heard about that too.
I'm just, if you think it through, how would it be possible if it was a part of the purpose of creation that you had to be married? First of all, what's the definition of marriage? 10 people could have 10 different definitions. So you automatically know if it's 10 perceptions of that. How could that be what? You understand what I mean? It's something that was created, but it's not something that's necessary in order to complete this system. If it was, everybody would be married.
But does it keep? It seems like to a degree, it keeps order.
If that's what I'm saying, is by whose definition of order? Because all of this is in order. If you understand the purpose of creation, man made its perception of how the world should be. Did it not? When you talk, man-made perceptions of how it should be based upon its beliefs of how they think it should be. But if you look at, you have to pay attention and know, okay, let's think sense. I'm a computer programmer, so I do analysis all day, every day. I've been doing this for 22 years. So what I do, and what I have been doing, is I think about cause and effect. I have to think about all these different permutations and iterations of things, scenarios, and the conditions, and what happens if I do this, what happens if I do that. So in doing that, and I'm understanding this system of how we have a creator and a creature, and understanding the purpose of it, it kind of gets rid of all of the man-made perceptions of how things should work, or if you don't do this, is that. Because this is very simple. The simplicity of it is, there's a purpose for why we were created. And there's cause, then there's effect. If you remove the emotion, understand a causation and an effect, you'll understand what it is in yourself you need to correct. You make your correction in your intention, and you move closer to getting this completed. It's that simple. But when you look at what man has taught, and you look at the different religious texts and different doctrines and things, dogma that's been put out there, it keeps breaking it down, adding on this different stuff. Don't cut your hair if you're a woman. Don't wear pants. Don't eat this. Don't eat that. Okay. But if you look at what the purpose of this is, these things are put there because a particular perception of a personal group of people chose that they want to live by those particular rules. And people do that, and you can do that. I'm living by my own, but I understand a particular architecture. When I look at what's outside, I look up and I see what we're calling planets, because that's what we know them to be. They could actually be something else, but this is my understanding, they're planets. And I look at where they are in the sky, and I look at, here's a chart, and it says this is going to move here this date. So these are certain energies that are going to happen during this time period. And if I study those patterns, I'm like, okay, I can see where this is a truth for me. And now I can apply certain things to understand what's happening in my everyday life right now, what is most likely to happen based upon the alignments of these planets. I can look at the sun and I say it's sunny outside, and I look and see it's raining. This is the day I should plant these particular seeds to grow this plant. If I look at the system and the pattern of it, I'm going on what makes more sense and what is applicable and what I can measure my own development and growth by. So if somebody's belief, for me, doesn't fall into what I came here to do, I respect it, but it really isn't, you get what I mean? I'm not saying, I respect people and people's belief systems and their religions. I have my own, everybody has their own religion.
Right.
But if it's not applicable into me or anyone really understanding their purpose and to really have something that's measured by, what really is your point on really trying to force it for yourself or to force it on someone else? You get what you say? You understand my point?
Yeah, so even when one transition from this lifetime right here, it was told to me that, or I've read and studied that, like you said, you don't forget. We hold on to, you know, the things we've done in this life.
And previous lifetimes.
Right. And it just seems so,
I'll explain
you know,
I'll explain.
I guess that's the metaphysics.
That's a wonderful question that you asked, or point that you brought up. Let me say this.
But one thing about it is, it seems like we never can remember when we come back here where we left off. You know what I mean? So
You remember. Okay. So think of it this way. Every one of us is created with, just like when we have a computer, the computer was modeled after humans, right? Mm-hmm. The creation of a human.
Right.
So this source energy knew it was going to complete this system. It created a network and series of other, think of them as computers, and instructions and programs to make sure that this system will work in order. So you know how you connect to the internet? You just connected to the internet, and you have a computer you're connected to the internet, and you're searching Google, or you're going to, look at this website. Those are different computers that are holding data and information that you're networking with and talking to. So the trees are talking to the earth is talking to the trees, the sky is this, everything is talking and has its own network and own network of communication. You don't see it, do you? Can you see it? You see it in that leaf is going to fall in October. You see it, it's on a pattern, it's on some instructions. That leaf knows that tree knows when it needs to release certain things, and it knows when to sprout the leaves up. That the moon is moving around, and they can say, with what we can measure it by, to say, is it a truth for us? Yes, because we can measure it. When that moon comes closer to the earth, water starts coming up from the earth and pulls upward. When that moon moves back away from the earth, then you see that water falls back down to the earth. So you see it controls, we can see a pattern of this moon, and you can see the tides in the water is going along with the pattern of the moon. So we can say we see it on some type of pattern. We could see it was designed some kind of way, right? Mm-hmm. So if all of this stuff was designed that way, and we see our bodies work when we get cut, if we heal, we see that certain things happen without us even thinking about it. Don't you breathe without thinking about it? Okay, so if you can breathe without thinking about it, that means that you had some type of program to make your body work, right? Do you have the instructions for that program? Okay, somewhere some instructions are there, right? And it's holding a connection to those instructions to make it work, right? So if you think of it that way, understand that you and a computer, y'all built, us humans, we're built just like the computers are built. I believe that we are first, and then the computers were modeled after how we were designed. Somebody designed us. Do you agree? Something or something designed us as humans. It designed the way our bodies work. It designed every organ in our system, in our body. So if it did that, and let's think about how a computer works, you have in a computer, what happens when you turn the computer on? You're either using, I think you got El Capitan on your Mac. Might have your Mac and El Capitan, or you might have a Windows operating system, have Windows 10 or 8 or 10 or whatever you have, 7, whatever you have. So you're going to have what's called an operating system. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
And so what does the operating system do? An operating system is a set of instructions for that computer that tells it turn on, work these devices, work the mouse, work the monitor. That operating system is going to tell the computer how to operate. So if you think about a blank canvas, this operating system is the thing that's going to tell you, we just call it OS. This OS is going to tell your computer how to work. So, let me get this cracker, cookies. So this operating system is going to tell this computer how to work. So it is his instructions that is going to be the canvas that everything else on this computer is laid on. So if you had Word, what is Word or Excel or PowerPoint working on? It's running off of this operating system. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Could you run Apple, what do you call it? Give me an app for Apple. Something Safari, something. Just the internet. Give me a browser. Final Cut Pro. Can you run Final Cut Pro if you don't have an operating system on that machine?
No.
So you have to have something that's going to tell that machine how to work. So for you as a human, what's telling you how to work? The purpose of creation is to create a creature and fill that creature with unbounded delight by way of transformation. That's your operating system. No matter what happens in your life, you're never going to lose that, because that's what your main operating system is understanding your purpose. So how do you make sure you understand your purpose? You would have to have something just like the computer would have, which is what? Long-term memory. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Let me put that up. Let me do it this way. Memory. Let me draw this way. And let's call that long-term memory is connected to your higher self, your higher consciousness. Okay? So this long-term memory is holding on to what your purpose of your whole existence is. And it has within it a desire. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
It has a desire in it to get back here. You agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's its whole purpose of this thing existing, is to get back here. So then you have your lower nature. Its desire, like ego, is only to do what? Receive. Okay? You agree with that based on what we covered already? So if your long-term memory is trying to get this back here, you may not understand this is your subconscious, your higher subconscious, which you're not aware of it in your waking state. Like right now, you're not aware of this even going on, but it's there. Mm-hmm. Are you aware of how your heart is beating? Can you explain, do you know really what's causing? You can go scientific and say, oh, the oxygen comes in, and the spark of electricity comes in, and it beats, and da-da-da-da. You can say that, right? Mm-hmm. But something is causing that whole beat of your heart. Something is causing that energy to move through with the planets moving through. Something is pulling that energy so that all of this works together in tandem. You agree? Mm-hmm. So this is going along with the purpose of creation is to create a creature. This is your whole desire. This one has a different desire. It is saying, I have void. Remember it has void? I'm going to say a different desire, but it has the desire to receive. It has void in it. So it also wants to receive this energy, but it's sort of like a mask over it. It's thinking it's trying to receive it from these things, from these material things, the physical. Our purpose is to try to change this intention from these things into wanting to be like this. So in this system, this operating system that you're running on, you have Now you have an operating system which knows this is the purpose. Now let's add in applications and programs. Let's add Word and Excel. What is one of the programs over here? One of these programs is I need to eat. One of these programs is I need to sleep. One of these programs is I need sex. One of these programs is money. One of these programs is attention. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
So you got all of these other intentions, or what we want to call programs running. These is what you want to call your Excel, your PowerPoints. These are sub-programs that's running. You got a main purpose, and then you got your one little desire at this moment. Now, do you remember people would say, once you get one desire met, you can always keep having desire. You see why we have to now? Because if you didn't have desire here and a want or need, would you even want to complete this system? You would just stay and just be like, okay, I got this and I don't want to leave. I'm just going to stay here on this planet. So does that make sense now? You got your lower and you got your higher? That you have this operating system is always keeping a track of that ledger of your creator quality and your creature. Make sense?
Right.
Okay. So does that answer that question about? You got it.
Yeah. It does.
You had another question.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut it. This is about to. We're gonna cut this.
Okay.